Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Tittle Tattle Tarot. It's Georgie. And today it's not going to be a traditional tarot reading. This is going to be a little story about Tony Hopkins before he was Sir Anthony Hopkins. And I'm going to pull a few cards while I'm talking, and we'll look at the cards at the end because this is a very strange tale of coincidence and a lot of fun. And I thought it would be quite nice just to tell you the story and just every now and then to pull a card and just see what happens, what comes out. So very much a new thing. We'll see how it goes. See if I'll do it again. So we are talking about Anthony Hopkins. Before he was very famous, he was living in London. He'd been married for about 6 years, and at this stage he was divorced, and his famous drinking was taking place. He was having a lot of trouble with the bottle. Wasn't a good time for him, but such a talented man, such a talented actor. And his agent called him and told him about a comedy in America that he wanted to put him up for. And it starred Goldie Hawn, and it was a film called The Girl from Petrovka, based on a book by George Pfeiffer, and the book was written or published in 1971. So, we're going back a few years. And Tony Hopkins thought to himself, yes, I really want this. I want to be put up for this role. So he said to his agent, yes, please put me up for this. And he went straight into London, and he went to the Charing Cross bookstore. And that's on Charing Cross Road in London. And he went in there and he said to the bookstore owner, I want a copy of The Girl from Petrovka by George Pfeiffer. And the bookstore owner said to him, I'm really sorry, sir. It isn't released in this country. It's only available in America. We don't have a copy of it here in the UK. So, Tony Hopkins just left the bookstore. He went into Leicester Square tube station, and he was trying to think about how on earth he was going to get a copy of this book. So, it was all different back then, wasn't it? So you couldn't just hop on Amazon, could you, and order things? So he sat down on a bench and he was waiting for his train. And the bench that he was sitting on, he just looked along and he saw something bound, like a sort of book, a manuscript bound on the other end of this bench. So he shuffled over, picked it up and opened it and started leafing through it. And it turned out that it was actually the original sort of copy of the manuscript of The Girl from Petrovka. And it had all the author's notes in the margins in red and different, different things that had been written on it and added and taken away. So he picked it up and he took it home with him and he studied it. And it actually enabled him to get the role. He succeeded, he got the role, and he kept this manuscript copy. And then he had to go to Vienna to actually film this film. And while he was there, George Pfeiffer was on set, and George Pfeiffer was the man who wrote the book. And they were similar men. They were both quite shy, not very extrovert men, quite sort of insular, and they got on very well. And they just got talking. And George Pfeiffer turned around to Anthony Hopkins and told him that he'd been in London and that his car had got broken into and stolen, but he'd left a copy of that manuscript on the back seat and he'd never seen it again. And he said, I was so disappointed because, it had all my notes in it. And he said, and I kind of think that sort of put a bit of a curse, a jinx on this film, because, it was so precious to me that, I lost it. And Anthony Hopkins said, oh, I see. And he went up to his room and came down with that copy of that book and said to him, well, is this what you've been looking for? And, George Pfeiffer couldn't believe it. It was exactly the copy with all his notes in it. And, he was amazed to have it back. It turned out that it was a really well-filmed movie, beautifully shot. And it certainly helped launch Anthony Hopkins, who became Sir Anthony Hopkins. It helped launch his career. And what an amazing tale. And while we've been talking, I've just been pulling a few cards, just at various points, just about this story. Knight of Cups. So here we go. Anthony Hopkins, Knight of Cups. Yeah, he wanted this. And the Knight of Cups is the person who'll work really hard, who'll put his heart and soul into something. And this is what he did. He had so much passion for this project. He wanted it so much. He knew that it would prove that he was a good actor, that he was worthy of Hollywood fame, that, he was a good man to have on set. And he put everything that he had into getting this part, everything that he had into learning the lines. And I think that very much, your passionate knight, you're one who does everything from the heart, from the emotion. So there you are. There's Anthony Hopkins. The Seven of Chariots, the Chariot, the Greater Arcana, upside down. What a shock when he couldn't get it from that bookshop. He's gone into the Charing Cross Road bookshop. Now, if he'd have got that book, that would have been, yes, straight ahead, go ahead, all steam ahead. But it totally put the brakes on him. And he was then worried, how am I going to get this book? It wasn't the easiest thing to do back then. And, to get a book from the States, it would have taken weeks and weeks and weeks. And he needed it. He needed it then and there. And there was a total stop there. So he didn't know what to do. So he goes down into the tube station and look, a new start. There it is. How ridiculous. It's literally a few feet, not even that, a few inches from him. And it's sitting there all bound up. And so he grabs hold of it and, that's his new start, learning this book, learning the lines that he needs to do. He's got the author's notes there. He's got all of the little prompts and, directions that come specifically from the author. So he's got it. He's got it. What a new start. Fantastic. And it led to the Nine of Pentacles. The Nine of Pentacles here, it's a female figure, but this is just someone who works and they own their success. They do something that they've worked on hard, and they become someone that stands in their own success. Look how confident she is. He grew his pentacles after that. You've got the bird of freedom there. He was free then to be in all different kinds of films. People wanted him in their films. They saw what he could do. So this book helped launch his career. This manuscript helped launch his career. And it finally found its way back to the man who treasured it and owned it. But there we have Anthony Hopkins and his journey through to being the self-made man that he was. And how lovely just to pick these cards just as I was talking and tell you this wonderful, strange story. How anybody can listen to something like that and say that, there aren't circumstances working beyond our control, that, how somebody can hear a story like that and not be moved by it. I don't know. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll be back soon. And I hope you enjoyed that. Something a little bit different. Bye-bye.